All right, let's talk about AI in the classroom. A new student has basically arrived, and it's changing everything. So what are the rules, what are the risks, and what does this all actually mean for the future of education? Today, we're diving into the UK government's official statement to find out.
It's not like AI is just knocking on the classroom door anymore. It's already pulled up a chair and is sitting at the desk. We are talking about one of the biggest tech shifts in a generation, and it's happening right now, in our schools. So in this explainer, we're going to look at how this is all shaking up education, and crucially, what the official guidelines have to say about it.
Okay, so here's the plan. First, we'll get into what generative AI actually is. Then, we'll look at the amazing opportunities, but also the very real risks. After that, we'll break down the official rules for schools, and finally, we'll take a peek at what's coming next.
All right, first things first. Let's start with the basics and get everyone on the same page. What is this thing we call generative AI?
So here's the key thing to get your head around. This isn't just a fancy search engine that finds stuff for you. Nope. This is technology that actually creates brand new content. We're talking text, images, even computer code, all generated from a simple prompt you give it.
And you've probably heard of the big names, right? ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot. They're pretty much everywhere. Now, what's interesting is, the government's paper makes a great point. AI isn't totally new to us. It's already working behind the scenes in our email spam filters and our map apps. But the massive change, the real game changer, is that now we can use it to create stuff.
Okay, so we have this incredibly powerful new creative tool. What's the upside for schools? Well, the government sees its biggest, most immediate role as something like a new kind of superpowered teacher's assistant.
Yeah, the official report really zeroes in on this. It says the clearest, most immediate benefits are actually for the educators themselves. Think about it, using AI as a tireless assistant to help with all sorts of things, from drafting a new lesson plan to whipping up a quick revision quiz for a class.
And really, this is the big promise, isn't it? It's all about reducing that mountain of teacher workload. The dream is to let the technology handle the boring, repetitive admin so that teachers have more time and energy to focus on what they do best. Actually teaching and connecting with students.
Okay, so that's the good news, the exciting potential. But, and it's a big but, the government is also waving some pretty serious red flags. There are definitely risks that schools have to navigate very, very carefully.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem, right? It's like two sides of the same coin. For every amazing opportunity, there's a pretty significant challenge. I mean, sure, AI can create lesson plans in a flash, but what if that content is just wrong or full of bias? And yeah, it can help with admin, but it can also be used to create scam emails that look scarily real.
So, you might be asking, why is the content so risky? Well, a few big reasons. First, these AIs are trained on the wild, vast internet, not the official UK curriculum. Second, they can make stuff up and present it as solid fact. That's what people call an AI hallucination. And third, they often store and learn from whatever you type in. This is exactly why the government is so clear. A teacher's critical eye, that human oversight, is completely non-negotiable.
Okay, so we've got the amazing promise on one hand and the serious perils on the other. That brings us to the big question. How are schools supposed to manage all this? Let's get into the official rulebook.
And the guidance could not be clearer about the #1 priority. It's all about safety. Before any school even thinks about using an AI tool, they have to carefully consider the risks. Student safety has to come first, always. So what does that mean in practice? Well, the guidance lays out some key rules. Schools have got to enforce the age restrictions on these tools. They need to supervise students when they're using them, and they should pick tools that have safety features baked right in. And a really big one, they have to update their safeguarding policies to specifically include AI.
Then there's data privacy. This is huge, and the government's advice is dead simple. Just don't put any personal data about students into these public AI tools, period. Now, if a school decides to use a specific vetted tool that does process data, they have to be totally upfront and transparent about it with both students and parents.
And this next one is a really big deal: intellectual property. Think about it. A student's essay, a piece of artwork they created, that's their original work. The rules say schools absolutely cannot let an AI model use that work for its own training purposes unless they get clear permission from the student or their parents.
So, these rules aren't just a one-off thing. The government is very much looking to the future. They're not just setting rules, they're actively investing to shape what comes next for AI in our schools.
And how are they backing that up? With cold, hard cash. We're talking £3 million. Now, this isn't just to buy a bunch of software licenses, it's a strategic investment. And the goal is brilliant: to create a national bank of high-quality educational content so developers can build new AI tools trained specifically on the UK curriculum, instead of the random chaos of the internet.
And that $3 million is just one piece of the puzzle. It's part of a much bigger strategy. They're also funding specific tools for teachers like a lesson assistant called Isla. They're setting up an evidence board to figure out which tools actually work and which are just hype. And they're studying the schools that are already leading the way. The message is clear. Let's move forward, but let's do it based on real evidence.
So where does that leave us? Will AI become a teacher's greatest tool or their biggest test? As this technology just keeps getting more and more powerful, the answer to that question is really going to depend on us, on how well we can grab all of that amazing potential while very carefully managing the risks. Thanks so much for watching.